So what I like to do when I'm doing especially short hair is I just take a little extra bit of clay, put it into water, and I just kind of smashed it. So I have some nice soft clay. So this is really gushy. I'm just going to set it on a paper towel here so it's not getting my towel all wet. And then I would go ahead and wet the head and score where you want the hair. And you can just score everywhere you're going to put it. I'm just going to score in the front for right now. Doesn't have to be pretty, you're just giving it a place to hold on. So then this clay is so sticky wet, it becomes its own slip. So I can just kind of stick it on there, kind of start sculpting. But I'm not going to get too far into detail when I'm sculpting with my fingers like this. I'm going to use a tool and create some more texture in it. All right, so I can take a tool if I want spiky hair. Let's see, it should go back a little bit further here. Here's my hairline. And I kind of poke in and drag. Poke and drag. I'm kind of teasing the hair up, pulling it out. I'm not just going straight in. I'm going in and kind of pulling. Different directions. It's a little too mushy in the back here. There we go. My tool had too much mushy clay on there and it was just kind of all sticking together. But you can see how in a very short time you can start to build up short hairstyle. If you want it to be more curly, I often will take my hands and just kind of spin like that, or you can take a tool. Let's see, I'm going to try this one and kind of curl it around. That kind of thing. Paying attention to the direction that those curls would go. And you don't want it to look too spiky, so often when I do that, then I'll just pat it down a little bit. One thing is in the front edge of the hair, especially once it starts to get longer, you want to make sure you have that you're showing some thickness to it. So if this hair cluster is growing out here, I want a little undercut below it. And then this one's starting to kind of curve off and go over here. You don't try to draw every single hair on the head. That actually makes it look more like a person is losing their hair or hair clusters. So if you want the look of individual strands, you can do a cluster and then you can kind of draw some strands on that cluster. But you don't want to try to do something like this and like draw every single hair. There are hundreds of thousands of hairs on our head and you're just not going to make enough. So it's better to do the clusters and then give it a little bit of a streaky look if you want to, but you don't really even have to do that. When hair's getting longer, I will add a coil on, again in clusters. Doesn't look like a coil, but big long clusters. That. Give it a little wave down here. Wipe my hands off, they're getting too sticky. And then sometimes I'll just take the edge of my fingernail and create kind of waves in it. Or sometimes I'll use a tool. Just kind of swoop it through. And that's starting to look like longer wavy hair, except my clay is a little too wet. So in that case, I would let it dry a little bit and go back in and do more of the waves and then smooth it out a little bit. If it's too sticky when you're trying to do the longer clusters, it doesn't work as well. So I've gone ahead and added some other little clusters of hair there. I wanted to point out that you don't want to leave this bald here. If it's close shaven, you can actually just poke some tiny little holes to represent like hair stubble. That works there because it's nearly impossible to actually build it out. But you can do something like that. But if it is going to be longer hair, I've got a couple coils here, and you can just build it out like that. Make sure it blends in with the rest. Create some clusters. Give it a little streaky detail. That kind of thing. I mean, you could create sideburns, whatever you want. And then I just continue to fill the head in. If I'm going to do long hair, what I do then is I do take a wider piece of clay, but I only attach it where it kind of hangs off the edge like that. If you look under here, that I'm not going to push down and wrap onto it because that would trap those air bubbles. Instead, I'm just going to slip and score this edge here, slip and score the end of the hair, a little water on there. Or if your clay is drier, you want to add slip. But basically what I'm doing right now with this really wet clay is I'm making slip by putting the water in and then scoring it. So just kind of add a little hair piece here. And then you can blend it into the head here, because as you're blending it, you're most likely pushing out any of those air bubbles. So you can add however much hair you want, right? I can make it have a little flip out, and then I would go ahead and do my little sections there, my little clusters. Hard to hold it up and sculpt it at the same time. And then over the top of that up here, I go back to adding my coils that fill over that. The other thing you can do if you want kind of shorter hair, less texture, is I can do this if I didn't have that built up so high here. And I can actually sculpt right into that existing top of the head and make that look like there's hair added there. You just have to watch out, because if you want it to look like it has a lot of volume, you're not adding any clay up here, so it's going to look very tight to the skull. Whereas if you want volume, you know, you're giving it some decent thickness up there. I wanted to show some final touches that I did on this face. So to make it look more male, I kind of carved off and removed a little bit of the lips. I pressed in just a little bit down into the eye socket, make sure this really looks rounded. Make sure when you look from the side, the bridge of the nose is sticking out significantly further than the eyes. I added more hair, so where I stopped before, I just continued around. So I'm kind of doing a little bit longer hair on one side, and then on the other side, shorter hair. I straightened the eyes up. I redrew the eyebrows in there. The ears from storage had kind of mashed down, so I had to pop those back up. They should sit just slightly away from the head. If you want, you certainly could make a shoulder and neck to hold this up, but that is not required for grading of the project assignment. I hope this video has been helpful to you.